Welcome to Legends Talk Live. We sit down and talk about all things tabletop role playing games. I'm here to talk to Commodore Zed today. My name is Ticking Time Bob. I'm the host. And Zed, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Commodore Zed. I'm a storyteller here on Twitch. I run various games: Vampire, Changing Breed, soon to be Werewolf set in Wild West. Not the Wild West, I'm sorry, Weird Wessex, in 800 AD, pre-England England, with a lot of werewolves sprinkled on top of it. I tend to run mostly 5th edition games when I can. Are we everything good?
Yep, everything's good.
Oh, excellent, excellent, fantastic.
Yeah. Uh, Pre-England, England. That rolls off the tongue weird when I heard that. Pre-England, England. Yeah. So as someone that plays a lot of Pendragon, I can say that that's like England, right? So
Yes.
they have the angles. So
Yep. It's
go
But
ahead.
just before Alfred's England vision of England came to be,
Exactly.
because he hasn't been born yet.
Yep. Britain, basically.
Yeah.
Pretend, whatever you want to refer to it as. Britannia after the fall of Britannia. So we are in our spooky season. So today is going to be very focused on one game, which is Vampire the Masquerade. We're always going to choose a topic. I'm going to try to do this weekly. We're going to sit down, me and a guest or two, and we're going to talk about a game we left today. It is, in fact, Vampire the Masquerade. The topic today is very specifically, why is Vampire so damn relevant as a game 34 years after it was written? 5 editions, 6 if you count or 7, I guess, if you count Requiem and Requiem 2, right?
And you kind of have to.
You kind of have to. Well, I'm sure we'll get into that more as we go through the
Sure.
chronology. But, I think it's evolved a lot, but it's still the same thing. It's still a dark mirror of whatever the reality was as seen in the era that it was written, which is why 90s Vampire feels so different than 2025. Because the world's changed.
Really has. It really has. But at the same time, Vampire changed with it
Yep.
in a lot of ways, and I think that so it's really cool because D&D has changed itself, but not quite in the same way I think Vampire has. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, as we go on too.
Yeah, I mean, this is perfect, Zed. Gonna keep these nice and chill as far as allowing us to go off on whatever tangents. I have no explicit line by line agenda, so that's
Okay.
we can talk about the glory days. I think you started very similar to me, right? You started with like 90s LARP, or is it 90s dice?
No, it was 90s AOL.
Ah, right. Okay.
It was 90s AOL, and I was a Magic player. But I saw this game Vampire, and I saw this game Street Fighter in the Magic store. No idea what they were. But then I had all this unsupervised 5 free hours a month on AOL back in the very early 90s. We were talking 93. And I just stumbled into these chat rooms at like 12, 13 years old about Vampire. And that's where I learned about Anne Rice. And that's where I learned about everything about Vampire. And eventually I had enough money and I bought a book and I got Vampire the Dark Ages. It's the first book I was able to buy. I think. I really think it was either that or maybe it was second edition. I can't remember which one it was, but one of them came first. It's probably second edition. But
Yeah,
it stuck.
fair.
It hooked immediately. No matter what, it just hooked.
So you started with the dice system, not the law by night.
Not the Law by Night. No, Law by Night, that came at a very pivotal time for me, though, because that's what I transitioned to full time.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So my first experience with Vampire was at a coffee shop. And like because it was the 90s, all the warning signs that you would never accept today were just completely normal and no one questioned them. There was a 30-year-old man running for a bunch of teens in a coffee shop, a game called Vampire, you know, with very questionable, things that we would now look for 18 plus for. Even the jokes,
Right.
even the violence, right? Be a little more careful with that. But back then, no one knew, no one cared, and my friend, I had minimal exposure to Vampire the Masquerade or to D&D. So when I got into Vampire the Masquerade, I was like, "What the hell do you do?" I mean, everything I had ever read about vampires was like, we run around like monsters, and we sink our teeth into everything, right? And I'm like,
Yeah.
that doesn't sound like a sustainable tabletop role-playing game. Like, how do you do that if you're just raving monsters?
I never looked at it that way. Like it clicked for me instantly.
Hmm.
What you do, it's all about the scheming
Yeah,
and it's all about scheming, just being social
yeah,
and
for sure.
invisible power structures.
I interpreted it that way because I didn't learn it from a book or have somebody
Okay,
explain it. Is a 16-year-old friend going, "Hey, do you want to come play vampires?" Like,
okay, now
what
I
the
get
hell?
it. Sorry.
What the hell is this? Like, oh, we're gonna go in public and pretend to be vampires. I'm like, this doesn't sound cool at all. Like, what are we doing? But it was amazingly fun. That group grew to like, I don't know how the GM did it, but you ran it almost like a tabletop, but with 15 people.
That's awesome.
And he used
That is dope.
Law by Night, the Gray book, which is I think the second edition book. That's the one we
Yep,
ran with all the way up to the end of that, which was like a 4-year long campaign.
that is awesome.
Yeah.
My LARP experience started when I was in the army. I just got into my post. I'd been there a couple months. I'd done a little deployment here or there, nowhere special. But I came back and I was at a comic book store that also sold video games, tabletop role playing games. And I was flipping through Werewolf, Laws of the Wild, because I'm really into werewolf. I love vampire, but I'm really into werewolf at the time. And these people just approached me out of nowhere and like, "Do you like werewolf?" I was like, "Yes." Or, "Do you want to run it for us?" And I was like abducted by a cult essentially,
Yeah, all
and I
right.
didn't. It was essentially abducted by a World of Darkness, a LARP cult,
Right?
and I didn't get out for 20 years.
Yeah, for sure. So you played did you play all the way through to like the Gehenna final stuff, or how did your games wrap?
Okay, when our games wrapped, because we were running Gehenna, because it was the official White Wolf fan club. They were running
Right.
Gehenna, but we were deployed. We were actually in Iraq when all this was going down.
Wow.
But I ran games. I purchased memberships for other soldiers who wanted to play, who were looking for a way to, decompress. It was something to do off duty that wasn't, constantly worried about, bad stuff happening to you. So we were doing bad stuff. We played a Sabbat game essentially. A Sabbat game. Well, it was a Sabbat defection game where a bunch of Sabbat went to the Middle East on a crusade. Saw, okay, yeah, everything's right. The antediluvians are waking up, but we're really on the wrong side of this. So we got to do something here and now, kind of thing.
That's
So that's
interesting.
the game. That's the game we ran over there, and it was a lot of just power fantasy, you know living out the end times, and
Yeah.
that's how we went out. I don't know how the rest of the game really went out because I wasn't paying attention because I was too busy keeping my head down. I really got into it, the LARP scene with Requiem,
I
Mind's Eye Theater Requiem.
Yeah. Yeah. And before we jump there real quick, I think I'll close out
Exactly,
like
we're not jumping there yet. Yeah, well, let's
no,
close
no, no,
there.
no, no. That's good. I want to get there too. I think I'll just close like for us. We had such a weird thing because we just really weren't playing normal vampire. We were playing a guy's homebrew, whatever he wanted to do with it, and he had managed to tie the vampire world in pretty closely with the Cthulhian mythos. So it was almost like we were doing a mixture of the two. So our big end, I swear we must have like having watched Massive Nyarlathotep and having kind of read through chapters. I ran the first chapter twice now, or the New York chapter once, and I ran the Peru chapter once for 2 different groups. We definitely played through part of Massive Thotep, but like from a vampire perspective. And he did such a good job with it where it didn't feel any more campy than the World of Darkness world. Because the World of Darkness world has some camp to it already. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, that was our wrap. And then there was kind of a hold for a few years before World of Darkness came out. Or New World of Darkness, a lot of the fans called it. I think did Bloodlines, the first Bloodlines 1, did that come out before Requiem?
Yes, it came out before Requiem. I believe in 2002, if I remember correctly. I'd have to double check that exactly, but Requiem came out in 2004.
What you know, people just didn't have their act together with like not advertising, like marketing. Like to think about them putting out a game that just kicked open the floodgates for new fandom, and they went to a game where all that canon that they just learned about in LA doesn't exist. Yeah. Like I'm sure there's a good explanation for it, but I think it's also like smaller companies and EA's doing the game. I think it was EA, wasn't it, that did the game? Who did the game?
I have to. You know what? Let me double check who did.
Yeah.
Let me look that up for you. Bloodlines 1.
I don't know why.
It definitely wasn't Paradox. Bloodlines 1. Okay. Troika, Activision.
Okay.
In 2004. So Requiem came out, I believe, in October of 2004.
Okay.
So after. Let's check the Vampire the Requiem's release date. It has to be October 2004. It's August 2004.
Interesting.
That is really, really interesting. I wonder whose decision that it must have been in development forever.
Yeah. It probably was. I mean, it probably was multiple years. I swear that EA had a role in that, but maybe Activision was tied to EA at the time. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to remember from 20 years ago, like it's cement. Let's be honest.
Exactly.
Yeah, then
imagine trying to be a vampire and having that kind of memory.
Yeah, right. Well, that's the whole. Let's talk about Requiem because that's one of the key points of that, actually.
That is actually a very key point of the Fog of Eternity.
Requiem is kind of like, here's all the things that sucked about Vampire the Masquerade in the 90s. I think that's what they were trying to do. It's like, we love the core concept. Here are all the things that made it hard to enter and hard to participate without being a lore mongrel, you know. Requiem completely got rid of the lore other than like the nuance of what is a vampire. It answered all those questions. And then it let you kind of set up your own setting, and you could use hints and things from things like bloodlines and such. The
Invictus book.
Yeah. The real big piece about that though was ultimately you start with a mortal splat.
Yeah, I love that about that. And if you don't mind me, I'm just saying, the current game I'm running is New World of Darkness, and it always starts with a mortal splat, and I love that about it. It's a great way to make a character in any World of Darkness system. I think is to make a normal human being first, and then the supernatural happens to them, and that's when you start playing. I love that. I love that narrative trope. Is you play a normal human being up until the point you've changed, and that's what you get from Vampire. Really, that's what you get from the World of Darkness.
Yeah, and I think that should be taken into all Vampire, because there was a quote I think I heard somewhat recently where it's like, clans don't embrace vampires, vampires embrace vampires. Like, it's like you aren't just a cookie cutter version of your clan.
Of a clan, exactly.
And so if you start out as a potter and you figure out how that potter became a Toreador, that's an interesting storyline. What if that potter became a Bruja? That's even more interesting. What the hell is that? What happened there? You know, and
Exactly.
yeah, it's fascinating. Both games tried so hard, both Old World of Darkness, or what is Vampire Revised, or V20 even. They all tried to do this humanity thing, right? And you can see what they're trying to do.
Right.
They're like, this is a game about personal horror. That's kind of how it always talks about, right? The
But you just had
reality,
a laundry list of things you couldn't do.
yeah,
It
oh,
doesn't work like that.
it doesn't. And there's that fantasy superhero with fangs risk that happens a lot. Um, it's real easy in that game with all the cool powers you can get to kind of stop forgetting the urges, the beast, the degradation, like the terror of it. And players, even good players, I find, if they don't play through the human side of it first, they don't really nail that. They kind of play a more comical character, sometimes good guy character, you know. Um, and when I say good guy, I think I think the base game. I know there's Sabat play. I know there's all sorts of different ways to play the game. But to me, if you really want to nail personal horror, you start as a human with pretty damn decent humanity. You get embraced, and it's a tragedy. You watch the characters slowly fall in the beast, even just a little bit, even enough to hint that they'll get there one day. Like maybe they've won the battle for now with their beasts, but they're not going to forever.
In order to do that, though, you need to have, and Vampire allows it more, a slow burn chronicle.
Yeah.
You can't rush Vampire. Too many times I've seen Vampire turned into Mission of the Week
Yes. Yep.
with Fang, so it's superhero with fangs.
Yeah. Or
And
secret special agent with fangs. Yeah, exactly.
special agent with fangs, exactly. And that's it's a turnoff for me. That's actually, some of my players kind of want that in some ways, and I don't want to run it because I don't like it. It's just the way it is. It's just a thing. It's not my type of play, but I like what you're talking about, like the slow burn personal horror, cinematic.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think there's no better way to do that than to really nail down who is that person as immortal. That makes it so much more depressing than as they fall. Kind of thing. Now, before we leave kind of the Requiem era, I'm curious, like, did you get into Requiem immediately, or did it take you a few years to buy in?
I was on board with the beta.
Okay.
I had the pre-release stuff that came, all the pre-release stuff come out. I had a copy of the book, a lot of it. Before I kept up with it's the first and only time I've ever been super involved in trying to be, know what's going on. Was with Requiem and the Mind's Eye Theater book. This was going to be. I was in this LARP cult, man, and I just started my own chapter. This was going to be everything I was going to be doing if I played my cards right for a long time, for at least a whole chronicle. That was my plan, and I got a lot more out of it. So yes, I was very much an early adapter of Requiem, and bought every book. I owned every book from the Requiem line.
I was
I
actually late to it, and I tried to figure out why, but I think I was so reluctant to change. And I was also fatigued
Okay.
by Vampire a bit too at the same time. So it was like the only reason I wanted to do more Vampire was nostalgia, and what I didn't want to learn is a new game, a new way I had to play Vampire from scratch.
Okay, I can see that. My reason to adopt early was I got into the club and it had years and years and years and years and years of game buildup. And there were characters that were 6, 7 years old that there was nothing you could ever do to to get around them. They were just an obstacle that were just if they were in the way, they were in the way. You couldn't do anything about it. Didn't matter how many people you brought because they had a mummy friend with them. Didn't matter. They've been playing for 7 years. So when the
Right.
new game started, everyone started at the same level.
It was like exciting again, kind of in a
It
way.
was super exciting. It was the opportunities. The opportunity was there for this openness, this brand new game that we were starting. Everyone was starting from the ground up, and it was
Yeah.
grassroots, and it was really good for a long time until it wasn't.
Yeah. Right.
But that's the same. That's all the New World of Darkness stuff for me. We got the new, and I don't want to get into the other stuff, but we got all new stuff. So it was exciting on all 5 avenues. We'll just say.
100%. I
Now we get. Then they brought 320 to us.
the and okay, so I own big V20 tome that you had to pay like $100 for when they sold it. The big oh, I lost it. Oh, there you go. I got this one with the leather and then the silver pages. But same
That's
one.
nice. That's nice. What's your
Um,
binding like? Is it glue?
the glue, inside binding. I think we were talking about.
Yeah.
I think
Is it good quality?
it's good
Mine's not.
quality. Yeah, this one's pretty good quality. You know, I haven't opened it enough over the years. I just use a PDF. It sits on my
That's
shelf.
what I'm gonna do. Yep. That's where
um,
mine sits. I just actually I will have the final two V20 20 books, core books in my possession by the end of
collecting.
next week. I'm collecting the
Yeah,
yeah, at least the core books, not
yeah,
all the other stuff that they've released, which is an insane amount of content.
for sure. Um, I I was a big fan of V20 when it came out because all I wanted out of Vampire was to play the old school Vampire. I actually was one of the big proponents for go back to the old system, unfairly though, if that makes any sense. Like I think I did a lot of that because, right? Like,
We had that too, but we had a LARP book about it.
yeah,
Laws of the Night Vampire. Mine's that theater vampire. Vampire. They gave us a. They're like they wanted us all back in the old
right,
world of darkness, my friends. You were not in the minority for that. You were definitely the target audience.
yeah. We all wanted, you know. My ex though had gotten really into Requiem and New World, and she was playing online on servers. So I joined her for some of that, and I was very reluctant. I was poo pooing everything. Oh, that sucks, and oh, this I like this better, and but 6 months or so into playing it, I really started to enjoy it as its own thing. But it was
Okay.
its own thing. It wasn't. I couldn't compare it because if I compared it, I knew which one in my heart which one won. But if I didn't compare them, if I just treated them like two games that I loved, all of a sudden I liked Requiem. Um, and some of the people we played with online went on to do um, Vampire Dark Ages V20. They like wrote the book for that. They wrote the book for Blood and Smoke. Who owned White Wolf at the time? It was CCP.
DCP.
right?
CCP. Yep, CCP years.
They bought that for their World of
An MMO
Darkness
license
MMO.
that never happened. That never
It never happened.
materialized. Yep.
And then that's how Paradox got it. So it was funny. Like all I wanted was for Vampire to go back to the old game, and then when we got Vampire V5, I was like, no, no, but not like that though. Like, you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you
Yeah,
mean. My,
yeah,
my buddy sent me the PDF when V5 first came out. He goes, "Look what I got," and I wasn't really sure. I didn't even know V5 was coming out. Right? I stopped really paying attention because I had my own reasons. But he sent me the book, and I read it. I'm like, "This is cool, but not like this."
yeah,
I don't. I mean, the system is neat. Don't get me wrong. It's the lore that I love the way it works.
yeah.
I love the way V5 works. Don't get me wrong. I think it's probably it's not the best iteration of the World of Darkness system. That's World of Darkness Requiem is the best iteration mechanically
That's the one you
of
like.
Vampire the
That's your
Masquerade.
preference.
That's my preference. Mechanically, that one just works the best. However, V5 is not very far behind when it comes mechanically how it works with its hunger dice and the whole hunger mechanic behind it, feeding rules, desire, the gameplay loop. I find to be really substantial. My problem with it is what they've done with the lore, and that's my only issue. And it's not something. It's not an insurmountable object for me
Right.
to get around.
Yeah.
I can accept it. I know, and I can always just use the lore I want. The RPG police aren't going to come and get me.
Exactly. What were the parts you got hung up on the most in V5? Like what were your
Off the
biggest like
top of
yeah.
off the top of my head, let me see. The fall of the clan, the pyramid, the way it happened. SI in Vienna and everyone else in the Second Inquisition just bombing Vienna. Uh, the change of the ministry, the Setites to the ministry, just seems really, really strange.
Yeah.
The general tone, and maybe not so much changes, but the way they change things. See, the way I hate to, I'm trying to be politic about it.
Yeah, I get you.
Uh, there's small things. There's nothing that's major that's big. It's just minor. It's very different. Everything is all the edges have been shaved off. We'll just say
Yeah.
there's nothing you're gonna get stuck on.
Yeah.
Even though sometimes the things you get stuck on could be a little offensive. There's nothing like that. It's just very smooth. The game's very smooth.
Yep.
No edginess, no '90s edginess at all.
Yeah. I really struggled with some of those changes too. The ministry one I was okay with because I just thought the Setites just never quite fit as a playable concept. So the ministry made them more playable. I hated the amalgam powers at first because I just didn't understand them. I was like, why are you doing this? But it makes so much sense mechanically and balance wise because it's like it just tempts people to play all the bloodlines, and every clan that's not Camarilla basically gets cool powers and the Camarilla don't.
Exactly.
So, and by cool I mean unique. It's really not that they're any better. Like presence or dominate are amazing powers. They're just not unique enough. But I'm trying to think what else I really struggled with V5. Oh, like when I think of everything to do with playing a vampire, like every trope about vampire settings, like 80 to 90% of them aren't about being a brand new vampire.
No, they're about being someone who's more established.
About being something ancient or semi-ancient.
Yeah.
When there is a new character, it's like a trope. It's like I was about to say because I didn't ever read the Anne Rice book, but the Interview with a Vampire, like Brad Pitt's character, right? Like he's a perspective character. Now you get to see the embrace through him. You know what I mean? That makes sense to me as a character in like a coterie or in a group of vampires, but everyone being it really kind of, I didn't see it when it first came out, and it felt like it was making an effort even more so to be like, you're not elders, right?
In memoriam.
Yeah.
They wanted to sell you another book. So they wrote an Ancilla book with all the information you need to play someone up to almost 300 years old. All the rules, everything you need, one nice little package.
Yeah.
They got this planned out, man. Anytime you think you need something, they've got a book. That's how they're staying alive. They got a new book. It's only a matter of time before clan books come out.
You think so?
Either a big book of clans with information on all the clans, more than the player's guide, or in individual clan books in some format.
And of course, something that doesn't make me very popular with most people is like one of my favorite things, because I got early exposure to it and loved it, is this Salubri. I love them even more in the Dark Ages than in Vampire. And it's like no setting dares to just make them something interesting and playable. They all ruin it. They all make them unplayable or kind of like less desirable to play. They make it like, they're like, no, we're not going to make this kind of hard mode. Like, we're going to turn this up to 3,000, and like, you better hope you have a generous GM if you get, generous storyteller if you want to play it. And I just think they could be a really fascinating they could be a fascinating thing in both modern and Dark Ages. And I really thought V5 would do a better job, but the whole bleeding from the eye anytime you use like any discipline is like,
it's like it's a little weird.
What it did is it made you an instant masquerade breaker every time you do something that everyone else gets to do for free. If they even narrowed that scope to this only happens during Valorant powers or during like Salubri unique amalgam powers, it would make a lot of sense to me.
Makes so much more sense. But you're right. I do like what V5 did with the Bali though.
Yeah. Well, I got to play through a little bit of that, but I don't know it that well.
I thought I sent you I thought I sent you everything that White Wolf has about them.
I think you
That's
did.
everything.
I just didn't deep dive it.
No problem. Oh, it's good stuff. Very good stuff. It's just they're releasing the release schedule's good. They're doing good work with Renegade right now. The last few releases have been really rock solid, and I didn't honestly come back into this until last year, right around this time. Is when I finally got back into the World of Darkness. I took a hiatus from the time about 2015-ish to about now.
How did you decide on V5? Because it sounded like you weren't an immediate fan of it. Where did you decide that would be where, because I imagine when you're coming back into it after a long hiatus, you got options, right? You're like,
I have options.
Yeah.
Right? I have options. Do I run Requiem? Well, I looked at my people I had to play with, and none of them had any gaming books at all. None of them had gaming books, and I was like, people don't really learn well from PDFs, I've learned. Because they can easily get distracted. So like, well, what is a book they can just get in a store right now? V5. And they did. Everyone went to the store or Amazon and was able to get V5. If they'd gotten V20, they would have gotten a big ass book, and it would have taken 6 to 7 weeks to get there, and they might have lost interest. I doubt it, but
you're doing something different, right? With your V5, because you're set in the Saxon Age, with your main game, anyways. Now the rules don't really cover. There aren't V5 Dark Age rules. How did you manage to homebrew that for the audience?
Well, a lot of the heavy lifting was done by Mr. Gaughan's character sheets, because I'm on original and someone else had the idea of doing a V5 Dark Ages game well before I did, so there was a character sheet available. So that did a lot of the heavy lifting. So I only had to remake a couple skills. I made a couple lore sheets. I made some new predator types. I made some decisions on which clans were going to be allowed, which ones were not. Changed some disciplines around, took away the more technologically focused ones. They weren't necessary. They weren't helping anything to any way. And so a very minimal homebrew. Most of it just being like different lore sheets. Like one of the characters has a spirit pact, so his harp is a magical touchstone. So it acts as a touchstone for him. Unbeknownst to him, it's actually a talon, a one-time use item for a werewolf. So anytime he runs into a werewolf, he gets hassled by them. It's pretty good. It's been fun so far. He hasn't put two and two together just yet. He might be listening right now. So, but yeah, we did a little bit of homebrew, and otherwise we just use it right out of the book.
That's
All the powers, all the rolls, everything right out of the book.
it's good to see that that can be done with minimal lifting, right? Because I think anytime you got to homebrew something to the point where it's like, well, why don't I just write my own damn system?
Right.
You know, I forgot how much I love Dark Ages. I think the reason why I've often avoided Dark Ages is two things. I've played with groups where it felt like a dungeon crawl. I've been in through, and I think those are actual like Vampire Dark Age like modules that they were playing through. One was a Bali Hive or something, but I don't want to play D&D in Dark Ages. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's fair.
It wasn't
I'm the
my
same.
thing. Yeah.
Yep.
The other thing is that I find that a lot of people make the mistake of, when I say mistake, I mean they choose maybe through lack of, maybe they didn't look at the Dark Age clans enough. They just assumed what was there from Vampire, Masquerade. But they make the Brew. If you don't make the Bruja, like there's so many. Okay, I'll give you a couple examples. If you play the Bruja or Bruja, as I say, it depends on what era you got into Vampire and such, or whether you made the switch when EA or when Bloodlines decided to call it Bruja. There's this idea with them that they're degenerating, like they're not the high clan they once were, and that's interesting. And it's like they kind of lost that with Carthage, but they were still like, there's still this sense in Dark Ages that they could be considered high clan depending on what location. It was very domain specific what was high and what was low. Generally, Gangrel and Nosferatu were always low clan. But I think a lot of people, if you don't like, I'd encourage you, if you're playing Dark Ages or you're running Dark Ages, really look at the differences to the clans and try and draw a map between where they're listed here and how they got to what they are, including the Tremere. Because the Tremere should be like dogs to most people. In Crown of Thorns, I love that Dawkins is picking up on that and playing into that. It's the first game I've ever played of Dark Ages where people didn't treat Tremere like they were just accepted. They're not. They're like, everyone accepts them like, yeah, you know what? You're pretty useful. Keep an eye on him. Make sure he doesn't do anything wrong, you know? Like, it's they're usurpers. No one quite realizes how they got into it. They're probably afraid of them. Oh, they're flinging powers we didn't have centuries
10 minutes ago.
Yeah. Right? That would be terrifying. And I think if you miss that beat a little bit, you miss the nuance of that.
I like playing without having to worry about blood sorcery because no one's doing Banu Hakim in my game, so no one's flinging blood sorcery around at all. So and since we're not using thin bloods, I don't have to worry about thin blood alchemy, which is an actually very cool
V5
mechanic.
update. Yeah,
it's a V. Yeah, the thin blood alchemy.
Yeah.
is really cool.
Yeah, it's much better, right? The way they did Thin Bloods in like previous editions, it's just like, here's all the. Did you want to play the weakest thing you could possibly play, where a ghoul might be stronger? Hey, Thin
Yeah.
Blood. They weren't as good in previous editions.
No, they
And
weren't. Neither were Dompier or
yeah,
any iteration that a ghoul could be stronger than pretty much any iteration of Thin Blood, Dompier, anything that was available.
yeah,
Even all the equivalents were just bad.
yeah.
Even the Dompier from the Kingdom of the East were garbage.
And they weren't interesting either, right?
No, they
Really.
were all Blade ripoffs.
That's fair. Hey, welcome in,
Ugh.
retired 11B.
What's up with that 11B?
Um. So, we talked a little bit about Dark Ages. There
Yep.
was a small but highly fan praised setting in New World of Darkness, or Chronicles of Darkness, which is what the New World of Darkness turned into, called Requiem for Rome.
Yeah, I could put that right over there.
And that was very much like you playing through the Fall of Rome, right?
Want to run it so bad.
Yeah.
I really want to run it.
And they have like the Julii or something they were called, which are like
Oh
the
yeah,
bloodline.
yep.
Yeah. They're almost like their
Ventru.
own clan. Yeah, yeah.
They are their own clan. They are a clan.
Yeah.
There are no Ventru. It is the Julii, the Maquette, the Nosferatu, the Gangrel, and the Deva.
Right. Yeah, so it's almost like they took the spot of the Ventru for that, and
Yep.
because no one can really remember vampire history in that setting. It's like, what
Exactly.
happened? You can assume they evolved into the Ventru, but that's a big assumption.
Well, as a matter of fact, in a later book, the Julii are a bloodline of the Nosferatu and the Ventru.
Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, the Nosferatu in Chronicles always threw me because I liked it to some degree, but I hated it too at the same time. Every time it was the sexy eerie is what you get a lot from people that played the new Nosferatu.
One of my favorite characters ever was the Nosferatu that I played. He was a cannibal. Yeah, a literal cannibal. Not Nick Tuku was his bloodline.
Right? Which is
Yeah,
a
it was
callback.
good. A
To
little
me,
callback, yep.
Yeah. I think what made Requiem so much more playable, you get rid of a lot of the lore. You have 5 clans that are well balanced against each other, and it gets a little unbalanced with the bloodlines, but you can just choose which bloodlines you're going to accept and which ones you're not. Bloodlines in that case, by the way, were just another micro version of a clan. So you choose your clan, then you could opt to allow players to play a bloodline, which gives them some new stuff, but it also brings them a new bane, I think.
New weakness. Yep. New fourth discipline and a new weakness. Could be a unique discipline. Might just be a standard discipline. The weakness might really suck, or it might not. It really just depends on what you pick for, because they're not all created equal.
Yeah.
But there were books of them.
Yeah.
Books of bloodlines.
And fan created. There was one fan created book of them that was like published
by White Wolf. Yep. It was Bloodlines the Chosen.
That's right.
And you know what? Those bloodlines all sucked.
yeah. I was about to say. Those were
They were all
broken,
they were all like, they weren't broken. There was nothing fun about them. It's like all the fun had been sucked out of them.
Yeah.
Like they took the most sterile ideas.
Yeah.
I've thought that ever since it came out. Good for people getting published. I'm happy for them. But they really took the least fun, the least flavorful options they could, just to make something that wasn't broken. If you're gonna do fan creations, let them go a little wild. Hold on, let me pull that book real quick. Now that I'm
while you're grabbing that book, one thing about Requiem that made it so much more playable is you weren't only choosing your clan, you were choosing your covenant, which was like a sect. It was like the Camarilla, the vampire, but it wasn't so black and white. each of them was shitty in some way and good in some way. It wasn't.
What do you want me to grab?
What's that?
What do you want me to grab?
Oh, up to you, Ben.
Oh, okay, well here's here's the Bloodline the Chosen book. Oh, I mean, lots of good. I mean, no, I can't even tell you it's good stuff. I mean, I guess the only one you might be interested in is an adventure one called The Brawn. We're all about the Arthurian cycle and finding the Holy Grail.
Yes, exactly.
That
Yeah,
might be of interest. But that one, but Requiem for Rome was a good one.
Yeah.
That was a damn good one. And then the Covenant books. You're right. There was just so much to do in Requiem.
I'm gonna.
I want to run a Requiem. Go ahead.
Go ahead, man.
No, I'm sorry. I keep interrupting.
No, you're good. I'm gonna round back to the original sort of topic we had before we deep dive too hard on Requiem.
Yep.
You know, what is it that you think makes it so relevant to play? Why is Vampire still around 34 years ago? Or 34 years later?
Why is Requiem so... Not Requiem. Why is Vampire itself just so evergreen? It fulfills a fantasy that everybody wants to be part of a secret society at some point. They want to matter. They want to have power. They want to be able to lord over someone. Deep down, everyone's got a little bit of that in them. And if they don't, Vampire's not for them. But the people Vampire's for is for the people who can't have those feelings and just want to see where they can fit in an imaginary hierarchy where they have, abilities and the humanity and the personal horror and all of that. It all just resonates over time because we live in a pretty crappy world to begin with.
Yeah.
And role playing yourself in a crappier world where you're part of it is freeing in a way. It's cathartic.
Yeah. True.
It's really good stress relief.
I agree. I think in general there must be something about that with horror in general, because people love their horror. They love to watch horror. They love to play in horror. And Vampire is a different kind of horror. You are a monster. Here's what I love. I'm gonna staple V5 though before we move away from it. Like, what V5 does that no other edition did well is it makes you kind of the monster and kind of not, because your dice are working as the beast against you. And if a good storyteller has the ability to lean in to being that beast, every time those dice tell you that the beast cares,
right.
Every time your hunger goes up, every time you get a messy critical or a messy what's it called? Sorry, I'm not as versed in the system.
Messy critical, you're correct.
Bestial
failure.
That's what. Every time you get a bestial failure, that's an opportunity to lean into what's the beast telling you, right? And I think more than ever, that makes it hard to ignore the beast. You can kind of ignore the beast in old editions. You can sort of do your taxes on your sheet and just be like, oh, I'll make sure my blood pool always stays high, and then the beast will never hurt me, and I can just do my thing. And you can't do that in V5. Everything's a rouse check. You can only be so much not hungry. If I were to stay in older systems, I would try to borrow equivalents to that, just because I think the beast is so important to what Vampire is. The idea that if you want to do a personal horror, right, it's a week or month ago I was a human, now I crave blood, and there's no two ways about it. There's no way to good guy it. I can try, but I'm just putting on like my clown makeup and hair and stuff, like the meme, and at some point that's I can try to pretend I'm not, but there's going to be points where I pretend is going to be held up like a mirror to me when I'm gonna see what I really am, which is a monster. And I think that's a cool. That's what makes it sort of personal horror.
Or also, you also get a lot of that in V5 with the conviction system, where you have your own individual basic thresholds. You have your chronicle tenets, which everyone agrees to ahead of time, and then you have each individual conviction, and each conviction has a touchstone. And if you harm those touchstones, you gain stains. So you have to. The personal horror is amplified in these things that you won't do because you don't want to gain stains because you don't want to lose humanity because losing humanity is actually really bad in
Right. And
V5.
so it mechanically ties together something that someone said that role playing is choosing the inoptimal decision because it's what your character would do sometimes, right? And
Right.
it can be hard to do that in older World of Darkness unless you're just leaning. There's no mechanical piece in older World of Darkness settings to push you that way. The touchstones do that because all of a sudden you've got Aunt May. I'm just using Aunt May because it's a pretty good parallel. It's like,
Hell
here's
yeah.
someone that doesn't know about my secret life, and I protect her as much as I can. But there's times where me being Spider-Man means I'm putting Aunt May at risk, and you see that in multiple vampire sort of tropes, including like, I don't know, Buffy even, where it's Angel maybe, like where they're trying to protect the things that remind them that they're still a part of them that are human, right? And when those
And
things
it's a
are
great mechanic.
damaged.
Great concept. And it translates well into the other systems that they have. Um, we're not talking about all that, but the V5 system does work. It works in other games as well. It's a very solid system.
Yeah.
I love it.
So, I've recently played Delta Green for the first time, and I realized that they have something so close to that. I almost like Delta Green's better, but they're real close. Because in Delta Green, you're playing. It feels very true detective, but you're playing like a member of the FBI or something. In our setting, we're playing the FBI, but there is very X Files or Fringe or True Detective style, where there's stuff going on that's bigger than us. And you have these not touchstones. They're called. I forget what they're called, but they're like touchstones. They're your for my character, it's his fiance, and it's his dad, and it's the church he goes to. And when you lose sanity in that game from terrible things you see, you can choose to put that on one of those relationships and have that take away from that rather than take away from the sanity. So I could see that being a beautiful thing for vampire, where it's like you're almost like choosing, do I want to let my humanity fall? Like if humanity rules were more common, like if there was a risk of falling more often, and you're like, but you could put that on your touchstone instead. Rather than your touchstone giving you a bonus, you would actually create conflict, mechanical conflict, with that thing that reminds you what you want. That's to me that's interesting. But they're kind of two peas in the same pot.
That's pretty interesting, though. I like that.
All right, yeah. Have you had this is October, a week of spooky, month of spooky, month of vampire for us. We're doing Crown of Thorns over at our
Oh yeah,
channel, which is we brought
love it.
in gentleman gamer Matthew Dawkins to run a 3-part. It's been awesome. Set in England right after the assassination of Thomas Becket, 12th century. In Thorns, and you know what, Zed? You know what I just realized stupidly is the Convention of Thorns. And I'm like, how did I not realize that such a pivotal event in vampire history that's referred to through all the settings is probably the very setting we're playing in, but just hundreds of years.
Just before the formation of the Camarilla.
Yeah. So, that aside, October is Vampire Month because Bloodlines 2 came out.
Yeah,
And yeah,
it
you got a
did.
chance to play it?
I have. I've played. I've put a couple hours into it. I played through the first portion of the game, and I've got thoughts.
Before we dive into what Bloodlines 2 was, what was your experience with Bloodlines 1?
Okay, my experience with Bloodlines 1 is weird. It came out at a pivotal time. I was in the army. I was just out of the army. I was just out of the army. Didn't really have a good gaming rig at the time. Bought it, couldn't get it to run. Never got it. It was always buggy. It was always super buggy. I never
Yep.
really got to play it, and I'd get to certain parts of it, and the game would bug out, and then I'd get frustrated. Then I'd come back in, re-download it, patch it up, and get similar bugs or different bugs. So I never really got super far in it. But I thought it was. I always used to think it was kind of hokey, kind of low key hokey vampire
Loki
stuff.
Hook.
Yeah,
Like how
low
that
key
sounded.
hokey.
Yeah.
And but and maybe it was just a pettiness in me. It's like I can do better. I can do a better vampire story than this.
Dude, I felt the same. To me, I was like, this isn't my vampire. And
Exactly.
it wasn't anything wrong with it at all. It's just it it wasn't what I envisioned in vampire. But I understand why so many people love it. A lot of people, it was their first exposure to vampire,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
I much prefer Vampire the Masquerade Redemption,
Yes, me too. Yep.
which is another very hard game to play though. It's
Yeah.
not very
It didn't
user
age
friendly.
well.
Did not age. I just bought it on good old games
Yeah.
not too long ago to stream it, and it was a chore.
Yeah.
It was such a chore. But the storytelling system in that was awesome. The multiplayer was just chef's kiss.
Yeah. There was a lot of cool things that you got to put it in the era. What, that was like a 98 or 99 game or something like that.
99, yeah, 2000.
Yeah. It was so for its time, it was both games actually were ahead
Yeah,
of
for
their
the
time.
time, and Bloodlines was a good game when it would run. But
Yep.
Bloodlines 2 is a really good game, but it has nothing to do with Bloodlines.
Okay. Walk me through that. Walk me through that thought. I'm curious, because I
Because
don't have any exposure.
you're playing an elder, a recently awoken elder, and you have elder powers like telekinesis. And you basically
Gotcha.
have all of Auspex essentially to start with. And then you pick your clan. Like I let my chat pick my clan. I ended up with Toreador, and it's great. I've got entrancement. I can kiss people, and they fight for me until they die. It's awesome.
It seems a lot more action oriented. Is that
Oh my
true?
god! It's a lot of walking. It's a walking simulator until you get into the fights. Then it's a walking simulator until you get into the fights, or
Is it
parkour simulator depending on how you traverse the Seattle.
is it free form? Like, is it supposed to be like explore the world, like GTA style, kind of like,
It's a very from where I've started so far. It's a very small section of the map. I'm hoping the map expands. If
Gotcha.
not, there's not a lot to do. So I'm really hoping the map expands. But I haven't gotten far enough to expand it. So hopefully it expands the next time I play. Actually, I've had a feeling it would.
What about the storyline? Because that's what Bloodlines was known for.
I'm digging the storyline. I don't know if you want any spoiler, if you want me to talk about any of it, but I can get into some of
We'll give
it.
the spoiler content here. You can always mute or not watch if you don't like this part. Go ahead.
Right, you start as you awaken from torpor, and there's someone talking in your head. And it's this smooth talking noir detective dude talking in the back of your head. You have no idea why, and you're on the run, and you're escaping. You're escaping from some cops, kill some security guards, like just single-handedly just throw them, disintegrate them with one punch.
Right.
Did you kill some ghouls? who are trying to mess with the cops. Anarch ghouls. Anarchs are just dicks in this. They're just complete dicks. And then you find out that you diablerized this dude, and he's in your head now. Because that can happen in V5. That's the thing
Right.
that can happen.
Well, they
It's
kind of
it's
made
that's,
that possible through the lore for years and years. Like,
but there was never really a mechanic for it.
right. Well,
It's like they never. And once or twice they had a
Masker,
half.
yeah, V20 did, I think, was the only one I saw.
V20 did,
Yeah,
yes,
but
but
you're right.
V5 has it like front and ready to go.
Smart.
If you weren't playing as an elder, this would be a perfect introduction to V5 because you can't play an elder in V5.
Right.
Lore wise, this is really really good.
Okay.
The only thing that's missing so far that I haven't noticed is the beckoning. Why is an elder not being called away to the Middle
Right.
East? The only thing I haven't noticed, I haven't come up against yet.
I
Maybe it'll
imagine
come up.
they'll have a reason. I can't imagine them making a game Elders based and someone on the design team not going, wait, aren't they all being beckoned? Isn't that the whole point of V5? Like, I
That's
think
the
they'll
whole
get
point of
to it.
V5. Yep. I'm hoping they get to it. But the clans, and no one feels like a cookie cutter. Like, this is the Tremere, or this is the Toreador because they're acting Toreador. They're so Toreador. Well, there's one that's very very much distracted by her art, which plays into their Bane perfectly. Mechanically and lore wise, I think it's very close to V5. I think it's a good introduction to V5, but unless it makes you want to play an Elder with telekinesis, then I don't know what to tell you.
Right, because you're not going to get that opportunity.
You're not getting that opportunity in V5. Even in my Dark Ages game, we're not playing anything higher than 10th generation.
Right. Yep. Which is, that's a choice. It's a fair reason. All right. Well, we've been through quite a bit of the high level things I want to chat about. Um, Anything else? Any other thoughts, Did come to mind?
I'm just so interested that your vampire journey started with LARP. I find that fascinating that it started with LARP, and I know so many people that I introduced so many people to vampire through LARP that it's an interesting perspective to get because I came through it completely in a different manner.
For
So I
me, I
find that
couldn't
just
imagine
fascinating.
playing the dice game. Every time I looked at the dice game versus like, I was so used to LARP. Hey, what's up, Cats Meow Show? Welcome in. Come in, Raiders. Every time I went from LARP to the dice game, this would have been like second edition. It was tough. I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I didn't get it. Um, I didn't understand it. I felt like, and it's weird looking back because I don't think this is true, but I think we were just so attuned to that system. We understood it so well, and um, as crazy as the rock paper scissors was, when you got into conflict with another player, it felt really intense compared to the dice system. It felt quick.
Well,
It felt dirty. Yeah.
PvP always feels more intense because there's always a little bit of bleed.
Yeah.
Even if you don't want there to be, there's always a little bit of bleed in there. Someone's feelings are about to get hurt. You better buy them something at afters to make it up. But the fact that you would do that as a teenager is wild, man. I think
Yeah.
that's wild.
I mean, it was what, 97 probably for me.
Damn.
And a lot of the people we played with were friends, but some were not. And people get really clicky. The GM was pretty good at not like over encouraging the PvP. And because he was running it, like I said, he wasn't running it like a true LARP. It wasn't a true LARP suffers from boredom. It suffers from the same thing that happens when you let a bunch of drunk people stand outside of your club after a club shuts down. Like they just get bored and start fighting. And that's what happens in LARP too. If you don't have anything going on, people just get bored and start fighting. Because
I love it.
So it's
Makes so much sense when you say it like that.
like they have these powers, they want to use them, and 90% of people die from using their powers in a least. In
Yep.
Lomare. whether they do damage then die for that, or they get caught and they die for that, or their clan considers them a risk and they kill them for that. It always ends that way, in my opinion. So, um, I know it shouldn't be like monster of the week either, but you need to really create something where there's opposition that isn't always the PCs. I think that's
No, of course. No, I totally agree. I ran LARPs for a very long time. It's a matter of managing people's expectations and keeping them engaged so they don't fight. You're right. It's about party planning.
yeah,
What running a LARP is about is about planning an event.
yep,
You're not just running a game, and it's the same for what we do on Twitch. It's not just running a game because it's
true,
not just our play. It's not just our players who are engaging us. It's we also have the viewers that we have to engage with as well. So we have to, it's a skill, and it's something we get with doing it over and over again.
yep,
And
and
Vampire Help makes it easy because it's I think Vampire is the easiest game to run. I
I
think it's
I
the
think there'd be
easiest
like
game
thousands
out
of
there.
people that would disagree with you, but like I agree with
Oh,
you.
really?
I agree with
Okay.
you. But I think people that don't come from Vampire probably wouldn't feel that way. Does that make sense? Like,
I guess because I find D&D tiresome to run. I
yes.
mean, I get the general flow of D&D. I've played Baldur's Gate. I've been in a D&D campaign or two. I've run it, but just setting up D&D, setting up encounters in a dungeon, balancing them to the party level to make it work in a broken system that was never meant to actually work. I just find cumbersome and unenjoyable. When I can just, go vampire and goes, what did I do today? How can we make that dark? How can we add vampires to my daily struggles
Yeah.
and tell a story about that? And it works. It just works.
Listen, I'm with you. I like systems where balance is like not the focal point, because that to me it's like we're playing a sport now or something. Like
Yes.
trying to balance a set of rules. Like I picture like basketball now. We're trying to like make it playable, you know. I I think there are a lot of games in D&D that don't do this, especially now. Dungeons aren't necessarily the default of Dungeons and Dragons anymore. Dungeons and Dragons aren't the default of Dungeons and Dragons anymore. Um, yeah, it's someone said it kind of moved from, well, the zeitgeist changed, right? In the 80s, it was Conan the Barbarian, Conan the Destroyer, um, all those 80s movies that played out that way. Even He-Man was that way. There was a certain zeitgeist of what fantasy was back then. That doesn't exist anymore. That's not what, I mean, it does, and it's called OSR, and those guys are still watching those old movies and continuing on to live in spaces that they love, right? The nostalgia space. But like for the modern D&D, it's more fantasy Avengers is how it's been described to me, and I think that's or Critical Role style, right? Um, it's that idea that anything we can think of creatively is in our fantasy space, and the zeitgeist is closer to Critical Role, closer to um, World of Warcraft, closer to not even World of Warcraft anymore, but it was maybe 10 years ago. But it's a League of Legends setting. It's very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think what Vampire offers that D&D doesn't, that a lot of games don't, is you are the monster,
Yes.
right?
You are the bad guy.
Now you can go through all kinds of cope to convince yourself that you're not. A lot of players do. Hey, thank you, friend. It's here. You can go through all sorts of like
Yeah.
mentally maneuvering to convince yourself you're a good guy, and you probably should play that way if you're newly embraced. Because
You
Rick
should.
even
I
doesn't
agree.
think, yeah,
But there's a difference between playing that and believing that.
Yeah. Well, it's main character syndrome. You see, and
Well, you're right.
yeah.
There's the main character syndrome. However, when you play vampire, you just have to. There's no right way to or wrong way to play vampire, folks. No one's saying that for sure.
Yeah.
No one's definitely. I mean, I believe that there's a naive way to play vampire, but it's still a valid form of play. When if you're playing anything other than personal horror, that's my opinion.
Yeah. No, you start to lose. You know, if I were to give someone advice, if they're like actually interested in the personal horror and they're like, how do I keep that? It would be like, start as mortals. If these are new players, especially, because I think older players hate starting or they're just tired of like starting level 1 or level 0 in a game. You know, it's that idea, right?
Yes, the cat's meow. There are lots of ways to play vampire. However, there are some I just don't gel with.
Yep, that's true.
Fishmouth being number one.
It can be hard.
Nope.
It can be hard to like play something really dark. It can. I do think this though. I'll say it sucks when people often play vampire where they're trying to play a superhero or a hero, even. Like, but the characters should, if they're new, should probably think they are a hero, or like the way most humans do. You know, most humans that like go do things, even politically, they do them because they're like, I am morally right. You know what I mean? Like, there's a certain amount of that.
Yep, they love to do
their
it.
own horror, right? And I think a vampire who's new probably should be like, I can overcome this, you know. And part of the story, just like Cthulhu, is, and here's how they didn't. You know what I mean? Here's how they failed at that goal. That gives a GM lots of tools to come at that new character, that newly turned character, and make them feel that, make them have choices where it's like, I know I shouldn't kill this guy, but I really want to kill this guy.
Vampire's all about choices. Sometimes those choices are bad. Sometimes those choices are good. Sometimes those choices are kidnapping a small child. Who knows? Never know with vampire.
Vampire can be messed up. It can be messed up.
Vampire can be very messed up.
I don't like I'll say this. I'm not a big fan of Sabat play for one reason. Because to me it also loses the personal. You already have given in to the beast. You're playing from the point after the personal horror is ended.
I disagree with you.
Okay.
Because there's very valid here's my pitch for a very valid Sabat game. Alright. It's the exact same thing that you were just talking about. You're a normal human. Here's the situation. I'll run this game. You're all sitting at a randomly. You're all human beings, but it's 12 o'clock at night. You're all sitting at Denny's. You're all eating. For whatever reason, you're at Denny's. You're going about your life. Lights go out. People start screaming. Blood on the windows. A group of Sabat rolls in, gathers everyone out of there, braces everybody, shovels them, throws you all in the pit. PCs come out.
Yeah.
The entire game, the shovelhead, the entire game is about you becoming true Sabat. The minute you become true Sabat and get a path of enlightenment, you stop play.
Okay.
Because you've given up to the beast.
Under that stance, I would accept it. In fact, I've tried to do that. It just turned into everyone becoming monsters within 3 to 6 months of the game. But the shovelhead thing, super fascinating. I think I had one I was working on. I'll probably never do it as a stream game, so I don't think I'm spoiling anything. Do you know Douglas Callahan in the lore? He's the
he's a Ventru prince of somewhere, correct?
Baron. He's the
Baron.
He's the Anarch.
Yeah, he's the Anarch Baron. Yep, the Anarch Baron in New York. Yep.
So if you really look into his background, he kind of defects from the Sabat. He was embracing the Sabat.
Yep.
And I thought it'd be so fun to start out as like his new pack in because he's based out of Staten Island. I thought it'd be so fun have it be like you're his pack, and then all of a sudden, like over the time, you start to realize you're like, oh, he's way more powerful than us. Oh, he's not actually a Sabat. Oh no, like he doesn't actually buy into this stuff. He's starting to walk us away from it. What do we do? What do we do now that we know our pack leader, who we're also tied into with the Voldery, doesn't actually
Nice.
buy into anything about it. Right?
I have.
We're more free that way. We're also like, and we never learned to be Sabat anywhere outside of this. But what I've heard from other Sabat is this isn't probably a normal thing. I think, and I think there might be some risk. I think that would be a fun.
Okay. That would be fun. But Sabat can be a bad experience for a new player. My wife, who was my fiance at the time, came to Texas when I was in the Army, where I was running games, and she was there for a weekend. And I could not cancel game because we had about 40 people coming in from out of town, and I had to storytell the game. And it was a Sabat game, so it was a tourist Rite game. We were doing a massive blood feast, and my wife was like, "I'll play." And me being silly was like, "Okay, this is great. This is your first experience. You can come in for a tourist Rite game. What could possibly go wrong?" Everything went wrong.
No.
Everything went wrong.
Yeah.
Scarred her from ever playing Vampire the Masquerade ever again.
I could see that. Yeah, Sabat's a weird one to start in on because it's so easy in a Sabat game, especially a Sabat LARP, to just all play monsters. And they made it easier with every new edition. Like before they made like, here's a couple of, well, even the past in second edition were more narrow. Then they made it became Paths of Enlightenment, were jokingly known as Path of Play How I Was Going to Play Anyways.
Exactly, yep.
Right? Because it now all of a sudden, all the things that made humanity interesting, you could just get a bypass them. You can just be like, yeah, I'm going to skip that. I'm just going to be a monster. 100% lean in. It's like almost every RPG, when you say the term, I'm just going to be a monster, your character's removed from play. You know what I mean? Almost every game. And unless it's a game about serial killers, like if you're trying to do like The Purge or something, like where you're the purgers, yeah.
I think I'm up to the challenge to do a non-shovelhead, long-form Sabat game with new players. I think I could take new players without preconceived notions of the Sabat, so they're not already coming in.
Totally.
Oh, we're gonna play monsters. Yeah, I can take some new players, introduce them with the shovelhead game into a full long form Sabat game. I think I'd like to do that, even past the point of Path of Enlightenment, and like just go through that. But I think I'm up to that challenge.
Yep.
I don't think Twitch is up to that challenge, but I think I'm totally up to that challenge before.
Yeah. Cat's Meow says he's never played Vampire before. So.
I believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it, Cat's Meow. Yeah. I never get to play Vampire either because I'm too busy running it.
Let me tell you this. I refer to this. I ran the Sabat game almost a year, and my favorite part of it was there was a guy who never even knew anything about Vampire that signed up. Had no idea. And he played a Ravno. Like, it was a Ravno anti-tribute because they existed at one point, and I'm like, yeah, why not?
Yep.
And for the Ravnos, what I did was he played the human he was for the entire 6 months. He just played who he was before that. Other than like the Voldery and some of his falling down, everyone else who played was familiar with Sabat, and they were all, in my opinion, kind of metagaming toward the thing they wanted. They were all pushing for passive enlightenment. The setting was that there weren't many vampires on passive enlightenment because it's like a certain period of New York City where they don't have a priest, and the priest comes in. Just using that lore, they didn't really have like someone pushing the passive enlightenment on them, which ran them at more risk. But I'd say 4 out of the 5 players that played that game were to some degree leaning hard into the monster within like 2 weeks. That's my experience with it, and I don't find it that interesting. They're just willing to burn down everything all the time, murder anyone they could possibly get their hands on. It's even the mafia doesn't have that. It would be considered disorganized crime and recklessness, at that point. Anarchy almost. That's what it creates. The Sabbat, if left to be like that, are just basically anarchists,
It just burns out and it's useless. That's why the Crusades have to be more subtle.
Yeah.
They can't just be the idea that we just run in and burn the city, shocking all the city to death. The Second Inquisition will be on you in a heartbeat. Oh, I'm pumped. I'm pumped. I'm gonna do it on Twitch. I'm gonna.
Now we got you all psyched up for this game.
You got me all psyched up for a game that's probably a year and a half away from now. But you got me all psyched up for it.
We'll see if it stays on your top list.
Oh, it will. It's on there now. It's going to be a V20 game too, because you can't do it with Vampire with V5.
Yeah.
V5 specifically has Sabbat as non-playable. And their book. Well, they already wrote a Sabbat book, and it pretty much is a non-playable faction. It's a storyteller. It's basically a monster's manual.
Yeah. I think that should be a sign for why did they do that. I'm not saying no one should take a creative shot at it.
But I understand. I get what you're saying.
I think someone who's a veteran running, it makes sense that you would go and you could do creative things. For a newbie GM who's getting started, I'd highly encourage you to play in V5, play Anarchs. In V20, play Camarilla. Play the default first, and then branch out. If you're a new ST or a new group, I think
I definitely. If you're a new ST, don't chase waterfalls. Don't make the mistake I'm about to make and run a Twitch Sabbat game.
That's not necessarily a mistake because you are a veteran ST though.
I am a bit. My first tabletop game, that Vampire, was a Sabbat game. That's not a joke. That's not hyperbole. I ran it for Keywork Savior and his brother Haggard Hessian and my brother. Nice. And it devolved into them using flamethrowers and just a whole bunch of edgy shit. But it was my first experiment in tabletop role playing.
Totally.
And there was at one point where they used potents to throw a fistful of quarters at somebody. Good times. Good times. The things you think of in your teenage years. 30 plus years of Vampire, man.
Like, one of the things I think it's good to experiment in any game once you become familiar with it, because then you're doing things that might be really interesting, right? Like a lot of the group that we play with on Cat's Meow and my server came from a shared game where we were all elders. By the way, when you reach for your can like that, it looked like you're pulling the can out of the girl's mouth.
That's awesome.
We all came from this elders game where we're basically the 4th gen and 5th gen.
Oh my god!
Big game, but we're playing at such a point where we're like new, so we're young. We're not uber powerful. We're not 1,000 years old version of antediluvians. We're 5-year-old versions of antediluvians, or at least period appropriate, right? So that's where I got my Ubar idea, was playing there. And I'm just doing a super slow burn. Like, I think my characters would play through like 25, 30 sessions before the Embrace, because I started before Kane was even present. I'm leaning into the idea that, like, so a lot of people are like, okay, vampire mythology is anachronistic. It's not anachronistic. What's the word I'm looking for? It's a mythology, right? It's a story. It's a tale that is told, but it's probably not true. That's where a lot of modern vampire likes to take it. I wanted to bring it back to lean hard into the mythology as if it were real. Play in a period of time that almost feels like Conan's Hyboria, you know, but in the world of darkness, like where there's like Atlantis and there's, you know, the first city, and then there's like all the creatures and horrors of mythical world of darkness, and everyone's just a regular ass Joe trying to survive in that. And now there's citizens of the first city, and they're getting to meet all these characters who they know are going to be bigger deals because they're being called Alcov or Ventrue. You know, um, they're experiencing these people as humans. When Kane showed up, it was a big deal because a lot of them realized, okay, everything's about to change. Like a lot of them don't know the mythology, but they know that vampires linked to Kane. So when this guy comes in 13 episodes in and, you know, announced himself as Kane. One of the players gave him directions too, by the way. It was the best. You know, there are different ways to play Vampire where you can experiment, do something completely off the cuff, and still have a great game. Like you said, you're not going to be arrested by the roleplay police.
It's coming down your door with handcuffs, unless it's the Pinkertons and you got some magic cards or something.
Yeah. Gotta be careful with Wizards of the Coast that way. They'll get you.
Exactly. They'll get you hard.
All right. Well, we have been running for an hour 30 now.
We have.
I think, is there anything you wanted to shout out, Zed, before we close?
Actually, I want to shout out Nerdwire Plays, who's just gotten back into the TTRPG game. Once a month, he's running Marvel Multiverse. Great system. He's a great GM. Definitely check him out. Nerdwire Plays. And yeah, make sure to check me out on Fridays and Saturdays and Mondays for Candle in the Meat Hall and Weird Wessex, or Feral Florida, as it's going to be closing up this Saturday. It's our season finale. It's our series finale for Feral Florida. That's actually a big deal for me. I should have hyped that up a little bit more earlier.
It's very fair.
It's a pretty big deal. But yeah, definitely check out Nerdwire Plays. I play the Crippler on his show, who is the spider-powered superhero. And he's a really good GM. He puts a lot of work into his production values high. You'll really enjoy his show.
Awesome. All right. Also shout out for Zed. He has Candle in the Meat Hall. You should definitely check that one out if you're a big fan of Vampire. I will, before I raid out, I will probably run the trailer of that again. We play a bunch of different tabletop role-playing games over at Teen Time Bob Gaming, but we are expanding into Vampire, specifically with Crown of Thorns, run by the gentleman gamer Matthew Dawkins, featuring player Lore by Night, alongside Ree of Mortal Rolls, myself and Zach from our server. Then, you know, stay tuned, because there's going to be more in the Vampire space on this channel. It is one of my probably top 2 or 3 favorite games, and I've been doing a lot of Pendragon, and I think we need to see a little bit more Vampire over here. So you can expect a bit more of that in the coming months. Probably smaller kind of theories type approaches versus, you know, I've got these Pendragon games that run for like 7 years in real life. I don't want to do anything like that with another game right now. All right. Well, thanks for watching, y'all. I'm just gonna run a couple of trailers while we raid out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
See you next time.